when you go to work for a publicly traded company, just have your eyes wide open.
Hey, Carol, welcome to another episode.
Thanks, Rob. Glad to be here. What's new and different in your world?
Oh my gosh, life is good. I can't complain.
Good.
It's all good here in Florida, sunny Florida.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, all good. Looking forward to this one. This is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We said, we're going to beat up on some corporate. No, we're not really, but
Sure
this
we are.
is, yeah, we kind of are.
Sure we are.
This is always fun, right?
Yes.
So that's why we call it after hours, right? We get to say things we wouldn't say during the office hours. All right. So, hey, let me tee this up, Carol. I'm going to put you on the block here first. It's an article in Bloomberg, among others, and it was also on LinkedIn, I believe. Yep.
It was first on in the Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal, LinkedIn, put it on there, and then so it's been around the block here, and getting a lot of press, and it's about Walmart's relocation mandate.
Yeah.
And it because actually it's in the press now because the deadline is coming in. I think it's August 1st, right? Where and so this is a big thing, and I know you're going to talk about this from your perspective. So I want to kind of have you kick it off. I've obviously got my own take on this, but what do you? I know you have an opinion on this one.
Oh,
what do you think?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah. Take it away, Carol.
Yeah, so this was first published in Bloomberg, in the Wall Street Journal, the middle of May, that Walmart was to lay off and relocate employees. Now, there would be a few offices where people could still work remotely, but the choices of relocation were to Bentonville, Arkansas, which is where Walmart is headquartered, or to one of their big hubs. One is in Hoboken, which is just outside of Manhattan. And the other is somewhere in the Bay Area. Okay. And so this was in the middle of May, and needless to say, there was a considerable number of people who were really pissed off about it.
I wonder why.
And then this week, or was it last week? Yes, August 1st, so a week ago. Obviously this will be published later on, but on August 1st, Bloomberg came out with an article about, their mandate meets reality as the deadline looms, right? So they've gotten back on the calls. They've got a lot of really pissed off employees. And let me just point out that Walmart is building about a brand new, about 350 acre campus in Bentonville, which, by the way, looks magnificent. Okay. I do want to point that out. Now, that is not enough reason to move to Arkansas. I would never move to Arkansas. And all I'm going to say is their laws made by mostly old white guys are not particularly friendly to some types of people. Yeah, so I would never want to live in Arkansas personally. Okay.
Fair enough. Okay.
So their which I had a laugh at is their chief people officer, said that being together improves the company and strengthens its culture while helping to collaborate and innovate. Right? How do you know that? Did you actually ask them before this mandate came down? I would assert, I can guarantee you the mandate didn't come down from this chief people officer, who, by the way, let me just point out again, is a lifelong human resources person.
Right.
I'm sure somebody up above her said, let's get everybody together, and this is what we're going to tell people about. Okay. They also mentioned in this article a person who's a senior director for global talent and learning, yet one more person who spent less than 1 year in recruiting. She spent her whole career at Walmart, which is all of 10 years. And she's an HR person. So, as you know, this makes me crazy that HR people are telling talent how things are going to be when they don't actually understand talent.
Right. Two different things.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have lots more to say, but, let's start there.
Yeah, it's a good start. This is a tricky one because, I'm all about building culture and building common values, common mission, common vision.
Yes.
That's what we need to do in business. And there's so much disconnect with that. So I wonder if this is a money trail issue too. I was just thinking about that as we first went on. They're building this huge 350 acre campus.
Yep.
It's a lot of money. A lot of money.
And
corporate America has a lot of real estate. a lot of decisions they make around real estate, whether they sublease or whether they sell or whether they buy. There could be some money issues tied to this. There could be some, profit issues tied to this, balance sheet issues tied to this. So how are these decisions being made?
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing I thought of. First thing I thought of, when I saw that big campus going
Exactly.
up. It's like,
Me too. Yeah.
Got to pay for that some way. So let's get everybody into these 3 locations, and we're going to sell everything else or sublease it, however we do it. But I think that the idea behind this, whoever's idea was, get everybody together, collaborate, common mission. I love it. I love that. That's what I stand for. I think that it was poorly executed.
Yes.
And that's where this comes in for me. That's the one thing I take from this is, well, the HR thing is huge. That's your expertise. And I love that stance you take. For me, it's the poor execution of something that really comes from the root of a great idea. And it really is a good idea. Now, that being said, I have certainly been on islands alone in regions and districts and different things in my 40-year career that I certainly wasn't at corporate. In fact, it was very few times in my career that I was at corporate. And it's up to leaders in those areas to build that culture, build that common mission and that vision. And if they don't do that, and for some reason it falls short, this can happen. Because if they had people that were thriving in Jacksonville, Florida, with an office of 100 people, and they were like at the top of the game. They were bringing ideas to the company they've never had before. They had an amazing vision, and they were all tied to the same mission statement, and they were leaders in their own right and thought leaders and inspirational to the company. You think they'd close that office? No, they would not. It's the same old thing, when being a sales leader for so long, it's people always said, well, I just don't want to lose the account. I said, well, you know what? If you own that account and there's nobody else that can sell to that account because you've got such a relationship and you've brought so much value to that account, why would I take that from you? I never would. So it's the Bill Belichick line: do your job, right? And this is I think there's something behind this. I think that there's a triple click on this. I just don't think it's what we're reading. There's got to be something else going on. I
agree,
because I don't know what it is. I'm not the brightest bulb in the room. I'm just a regular guy here. But I tell you, I just get a funny feeling like there's something going on behind this, and I don't know what it is.
Well, I can assert what I think is going on here. I think
I'd love to
there's
hear it.
one basic thing going on here, and it's not. I mean, yes, is culture a part of it? I believe what's really going on here is their stock price.
Oh, see, all right. Maybe I was onto something, huh?
So when I read these things, I thought, okay, they're trying to get people to quit.
Yeah.
They don't want to relocate. I mean, they mentioned I think it was in the Bloomberg article, that they talked to some realtor, and in the last, what did he say, 6 years or something like that, or 10 years since he's been a realtor, I think maybe it was 10, housing prices have doubled. And they're going to continue going up. This is what happens. People are moving in from these other areas, right? So, Walmart says that they're going to make the people whole that are moving to, let's say, New Jersey or to the Bay Area, 2 of the most expensive places in the country to live. Okay. But are they really going to up their salary enough, where the property taxes may be 4 times higher than what they're paying right now?
Right.
Or more, right? When I left New Jersey and moved here, my taxes were 1/4 of what I was paying.
Sure.
Now that's not the case anymore because of all the people that have moved in. Colorado's now, up there high as one of the most expensive places to live in the country. I wouldn't come here again if I had the choice, right? Yeah. But what's going? I believe and I've said this many times before. I believe companies are publicly traded companies are making decisions based on Wall Street. One of the articles even talked about it, I think.
Yeah.
They're Wall Street's, beating them up over something, and the next thing, and this is not, yes, we're beating up on Walmart here, but this is not just a Walmart issue. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boeing did this back in, was it 2001?
Yep. 2001. Yep.
2001, when they moved people out of Seattle to Chicago. Right? Illinois probably gave them some, I don't know what happened. Did the state of Illinois give them some massive tax break to move?
Yeah.
Probably.
From the rain to the snow. Lucky them.
Yeah. And the wind, right? And then this has happened at Amazon. It's happened at AT&T. Yep. We've heard about it happening at Twitter. Everybody has to come into the office now, when people had already moved to different states.
Yeah, that's the other thing about this, right? It's like it's a shell game, right? They changed the rules, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's on both sides too, right? So let me be provocative, like I try to be every time, and then I want you to go on this. I want your opinion on this.
Yeah.
So, the pandemic started this whole remote thing.
Yes.
Went off the rails, right? I mean, oh my gosh, people are calling me up saying, you know what? I'm gonna go to Greece, and I'm gonna just live there in a villa, and I got wireless. I'll work there. And I'm gonna go to Italy, and I'm gonna live in Tuscany, and it's gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna work remote for the rest of my life. And come on, I mean, I just can't understand people with that logic. It's like, do you really think that was going to be your entire rest of your life? Did you really think that you were going to live in a villa in Greece, like a Greek? I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
I just can't. I feel for these people. Believe me, I do. But really, did you really think that you were going to do that? Now, you had some great years. You had 2 or 3, maybe 4 years. What a life if you were able to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm a project manager, and I'm now on the beach in Cancun, and that's where I work for the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. I love that for you. Congratulations.
Right.
It's time to get back in the game now.
Yes.
You had your. What a great. I never had that in my lifetime until COVID. Right.
Right.
And my COVID was in London. Right. So, but the reality is, it's. I can't believe people thought that was going to be the rest of their life. I just can't. It just blows my mind.
They did.
Because nothing is forever, right? And it's like, so this is a little bit about getting back in the game. Now, again, I'll go back to, and I'll put it to you. It's poor execution, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But it is about getting back in the game.
Mm-hmm. I'll never forget when it was sometime in 2020. One of my friends that plays mahjong with us, her husband works for, let's call it one of the major property and casualty insurers. Okay. It was nationwide. He was a manager.
Yeah. It had to be nationwide.
Yeah. He was a manager. He is a manager. I can't remember what level he's at, maybe second line. And I remember her saying, Brent's going to be working from home permanently. Like she was like, oh crap. I said, really? She goes, oh yeah, they closed a whole bunch of campuses. They realized that people actually worked from home. Wow. You mean we don't have to have people in the office? They'll actually do their work. And they found that people were actually working more. Yeah. And they closed many campuses. And I'm sure they have stayed closed. When you look at that, and I'll never forget, as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh yeah, the whole business kind of commercial real estate market is going to collapse because of this. Yeah. And they've never reopened those. And I think, look at the millions of dollars or tens of millions. I don't know what, they're paying for buildings or whatever, or office space that they are saving.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we have talked about this, right? I mean, I've been remote for over 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So I have to be very conscious about getting out and doing stuff. Otherwise I'll, be like a hermit. And, but it doesn't prevent me. I mean, I love getting together. I mean, Kat's on her way. She's actually in Denver right now. I'll see her on Monday. We'll spend Monday together before she flies back to DC. And, it's great. I try to see her a couple of times a year. And I think that's what we need to remember. When we are in a remote environment, it is incumbent upon the company to bring those people together in one place. Ideally every quarter, if not, worst case, twice a year.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And companies aren't doing a lot of that though. And, they
look
just
at
get
all the money they're saving.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It goes back to it's a money trail. It's always a money trail, right?
It's always a money trail.
But Well, for public companies, certainly it is,
Yes.
right? It always was.
Yes.
I mean, I've worked for enough to know.
Mhm.
But the reality is, you just said it. It's what happens is days go to weeks, weeks go to months, months go to quarters, quarters go to years. You're
That's
like,
right.
oh, you know what? Shit, I haven't seen that guy for 2 years.
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I
Mhm.
don't care what the issue is. I don't care
Mhm.
what the company is, what you're selling, what business you're in.
Yeah.
I'm a broken records. Business is a spiritual game. It's between
Mhm.
humans. It always will be.
Yeah.
Whether we have AI, we have to coexist with AI. We have to coexist with technology. It's always going to be businesses between people that they trust
Mhm.
and that they want to do business with.
Yeah.
And it's never ever ever going to change. And if it does, I'll roll over in my grave someday maybe. But I'll tell you, I just think we're in trouble if we over rotate like this and say
Mhm.
that that we can't have a hybrid, right? The hybrid's okay.
Mhm.
And I don't have a problem with that at
Mhm.
all. I mean, but we also have to have an effort. We have to have people teach us and train us how to engage remotely, how to engage on Zoom, how to do the
Mhm.
things that you and I know to do to connect to our audience, right? We learned those. We became students to learn that.
Mhm.
And you have to learn how to engage, how to be present, how to be mindful,
Yeah.
even if you're all remote. And the other thing is you have to have a concerted effort
Mhm.
that everybody buys into from the CEO down
That's right.
of a mental health practice,
Right.
because you've got to get out,
Mhm.
like you just said. You've got to, when I say get back in the game, it doesn't always mean get back in the game, relocate to Arkansas. It's get back in the game and take care of
Yeah.
yourself, and
Yeah.
don't sit in front of a Zoom screen for 12 hours a day and expect your life to be wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And what that is that's part of your talent strategy. So
That's why I brought it up. So
yes,
then there you
what
go.
are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And what works for us? Because it's just, if the CEO, as whether it's a startup or not, but how often do we see new CEOs come in and then, the next thing you know, practically the whole executive team turns over for one reason or another. And, it's in they bring in their buddies, or maybe they don't. And what they're not looking at is, what I believe they're not really looking at is, all right, what's the culture we really want with this company? And what does that look like in practice?
Yeah.
It's not just to say, here's our culture, X, Y, and Z. You can't just put it up on a board in your office.
Yeah.
You have to look at, okay, if we want a culture feedback, what does that look like in practice?
Yeah. Yeah.
If we want
I
a
love
culture of taking care of our employees' mental health, what does that look like in practice? You can't just say, we're going to take care of your mental health. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah. That's perfect.
we are committed to you taking, a personal day if you just need it. Does that mean whenever you want? Does that mean, what if you've got a major presentation to do? Well, then maybe it can't be today.
Right.
So we have to define, and that's what companies tend not to do. They don't define, what does that look like in practice?
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
This is crazy. You said that. Now I just had a conversation. I'm doing a keynote in March at a leadership conference, and the leadership, the people that are hiring me said, I have this talk called the give versus get principle, right? Being a servant to your customers as well as the ones around you. And so they were like, well, we love that. But what does that mean? Like,
right.
Can you tell, so the reality is what you just said. It's like, it's more than a soundbite on CNBC by the CEO. It's like, how do you actually do that? How do you reinforce that language, and how do you make sure you're consistent with that language, that you train and you train the leaders under you at all levels?
That's right.
And that you measure that. You have to measure that, right? I went on to this whole, we just talked about it and it's like, that's the difference between a soundbite and building a culture.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And this is exactly what this is about.
Yeah. Which is one of the big reasons I don't listen to news.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah.
It's just, it's nothing but sound bites. You don't actually get the real story. How do I learn? I listen to podcasts. I read, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get your education.
You can get every opinion reading those three journals.
Right. If you want to talk, if you want to listen to sound bites, you turn the TV on. That's the way we're programmed, right?
Exactly. You learn by listening to conversations between people who are experts in an area.
Yeah, between two people or between a panel, or you've got to have you got to listen and you got to look at the body language. You got to look at what are they saying, how are they saying it, how often are they saying it, and what's the real message here? And that's and that's the difference. And I think this is an example of a soundbite the HR person gave. Right, that's a soundbite. What does that really mean? So what are they doing? If everybody's coming to Arkansas, give me the 10 things that you're going to do to ensure that you do build a culture.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's exactly right. And like I said, that just makes me crazy. She's just towing some company line. I guarantee you she didn't come up with that on her own.
Yeah.
Maybe
she'll listen to us.
Somebody up
here
above her said to her, this is what we're going to do. You need to sell it.
Yeah.
That's the whole HR has influence yet no power.
That's the way it is now, right? That's what you're saying.
That's why I'm such an advocate of a chief talent officer. Once these companies understand what a chief talent officer brings to the table, they will never know what hit them.
Yeah.
Having a professional to partner with.
Right.
To do this kind of a job. And when I say professional, I mean somebody with decades of experience. There are plenty of people out there with that. You just have to be able to entice them away from what they're already doing.
Yeah.
What's going to make them go be the chief talent officer for Walmart, aside from a boatload of money?
Right.
Is that person going to be sitting at the table with every one of your executives listening to her or him?
And they had to know this is going to be a problem, right? I mean, we have people that were complaining about commuting in from the boroughs or from the suburbs of London, right? And taking 3 hours to get in and back. It's like, if they're worried about that for mental health, by the way, and it's a good reason, if there's 6 hours on a train, give me a break. So if there's already issues like that popping up, how would they think that this would go over? They had to, or do they not even, are they so unaware?
Well, I think partly they also wanted people to quit.
So
that's my assertion.
Yeah. So didn't we do a segment on quiet? Is it quiet quitting? Was the employee doing it? What's when the employer
quiet firing? They call it that.
Yeah. I think that quiet firing. Yeah. I think I heard. There's so many. Again, talk about
jargon.
Yeah. Quiet firing. This could be a perfect example of that. I don't know, but
this is all
maybe
jargon.
They'll hear this and they'll come on and talk to us.
You think so? Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Let's not hold our breath.
Oh yeah. Right. All right, Carol. Well, is there anything else you want to say to this one? I mean, yeah.
No, the only final point I would make is that, and I've made it before, and I cannot say this enough, when you go to work for a publicly traded company, just have your eyes wide open. I'm not saying to do it or to not do it. I'm just saying have your eyes wide open, because this is the kind of thing that happens because they are basically at the whim of Wall Street, and they will make their decisions based on that and that alone. Wall Street's more important than their employees.
I couldn't. And it always has been, by the way. This is not new. This is not new stuff,
but I think people are talking about it more now. At least we are.
Yeah. No, I agree. Great episode. Thanks so much, Carol. I love spending time with you, and I will see you next time.
Bye, Rob. Thanks for listening to Authentically Successful After Hours. I'm your host, Carol Schultz.
And I'm your co-host, Rob Swimer. Hey, don't forget to click follow to hear more. And please leave us an honest review and rating so we can continue to improve and bring you more great stories.
Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.